Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to be looking at the realized market cap to ThermoCap ratio. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the sale on the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. So yet again, we are going to put on our on-chain analysis hat and briefly go into the realized cap divided by the ThermoCap. Now, we probably should spend a couple minutes defining these terms in case you haven't been following the on-chain charts that we've been putting out on the channel over the last, few weeks or so. The first one is the ThermoCap, and you should basically just think about it. I mean, it's in relation to cumulative miner revenue. So it's basically just the sum of daily miner revenue in US dollars. So that is the ThermoCap. Now, the realized cap is, you might think about like market capitalization and realized capitalization. The realized cap is actually the cost basis times the supply rather than the price times supply. Okay, so if you think about like what is the market cap of an asset, you would just take the price multiplied by the supply. But if you want to get the realized market cap, you take the price that, you take the cost basis of all that Bitcoin times the supply. Okay, cost basis times supply rather than the price times supply. And then that gives you the realized cap. So the purpose of this metric, we're just taking the realized cap over the thermal cap, and we're just seeing are there any interesting trends. Okay, that's all we're going to do. I should remind you that, in general, on-chain data can be a little bit funky. Okay, I mean it can be manipulated to some degree. Just because you are moving Bitcoin in and out of a wallet, for instance, it doesn't mean you're buying or selling. It could just mean you're transferring it from one wallet to another. We've seen that show up on a lot of different on-chain statistics where it might seem like something is going on, but it's not really anything going on. Regardless, with the typical disclaimer that you always have to understand with regards to on-chain data, and also remembering it doesn't capture what's going on everywhere. If we look at this metric, just the realized market cap of Bitcoin divided by the ThermoCap, this is what you get, okay? And one of the interesting things is that, and I mean, it kind of stands out right away, is that, this market cycle, we have not seen a higher high on this metric, at least not yet. I mean, if you look at the first cycle, you can see that the realized cap to ThermoCap ratio reached about 6. And then in 2013, it reached approximately 7 or so in mid-2013. And then at the end of 2013, it went all the way up to 11. And then in 2017, you can see that it went all the way up to around 15 to 16 or so, somewhere in that area. And then during this cycle, at the local top in April and May, which again I would argue is a more significant level than what we saw back in November, even though November did put in technically a new all-time high. We went to 13.57. And also additionally, it's interesting because even this metric also shows that the November bounce that took us to a new all-time high, the realized market cap divided by ThermoCap actually put in a lower high, unlike what 2013 did when it actually put in a higher high. Okay, so it's something to consider. Now, when looking at this, you have to wonder, is there more coming? I mean, obviously we've spoken about lengthening cycles for a long time, but even if lengthening cycles play out, I don't imagine that it won't likely be obvious until either the end of this year or sometime in 2023. But in the meantime, all we can do is just look at what the data is showing us and try to plan accordingly. So not only do we look at say highs, right? Not only do we look at high levels, but we can also look at the low levels and try to use that to sort of gauge where we could, where we might be if we were to continue, if the price of Bitcoin were to drop. I mean, right now it's over $40,000, but you can see that the realized cap to ThermoCap ratio back during 2012 reached around 2 or so, and then during 2014, 2015 it was around 3, and then in 2020 you can see that it went all the way down to about 5. And so I don't really know when it will ever get to these levels, but if we went back down to say about 7 or 8, that could indicate a pretty big floor, if this ratio were to ever get back to those levels. So I guess we'll just have to take it one step at a time, and ultimately see what the rest of this market cycle has in store for us. Obviously, Bitcoin has been very bearish for the last 3 months. Really hasn't done anything remarkable for almost a year at this point, since May of 2021. So nothing too exciting has gone on with Bitcoin. I mean, even the bounce to 69K was only a $5,000 difference, right? You don't wait 6 months just to see Bitcoin go up 5K. So this metric, while I don't know if it would ever be super useful at predicting tops, or anything like that, because I mean, when it's moving up like this, you don't really know exactly how high it's going to go. I mean, if we look at maybe patterns here, you can see it was 6 and then 11 and then 15 or so. I guess it's adding 4. I don't know, really adding is really that great. So I suppose if you did see this go up to like 19 or something, that might be a red flag. But in the meantime, I don't think that this metric would have necessarily been that great at showing the 64K top. I mean, obviously there were a lot of other metrics that we were using that helped us identify this local top over here. I'm not really sure this metric would have been one of them, just because you probably would, if you had been watching this, you probably would have assumed that we would be able to put in a higher high, which we have not done, at least not yet, right? We have not done that yet. I'm not saying it can't happen. We haven't done it yet. And obviously with the current market conditions, Bitcoin still remains very, very fragile until we can actually get back above some of those key milestones that we've talked about, and then hold them as support. So just another metric that we can put in our toolkit and occasionally reference to see what's going on. If you guys like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel. Remember, you can get access to all these charts. Just go to intothecryptoverse.com, and you can lock in the low rate on the sale as long as you do not cancel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.